What's up, everybody? I'm Zombie Cat,
And I'm Skull.
and this is the Horror Den, and this is episode 3 of Horror Havoc.
Yeah.
We have a very cool Halloween creepypasta lined up for today called The Witches and the Circle. I read this. We couldn't even figure out when it came out. We saw comments from like 2014. I maybe read it around 15, 6, just somewhere in there. I can't remember much of it besides the fact it's a Halloween story. So
Okay, well, I'm very interested. But before we get into it, just some quick announcements. Like always, we have an Instagram if you want to go follow us and keep up to date on all real world shenanigans.
at the Horror Den channel.
Go over there and give us a follow. Also, we do have a Patreon, which at the end of the video, we will have a list of our Patreon supporters, like always. But for those of you who don't make it to the end of the video and don't know that we have a Patreon, you could subscribe to it for as low as $5 a month and just kind of help us, get equipment like these wonderful mics you see, thanks to our Patreon. Obviously, we're a smaller channel, so I understand if you don't want to, but we are working actively on trying to make up some ideas of some benefits that could come with it. So down in the comments, if you have any ideas of what you would be willing to or wanting to see in a Patreon, let us know, because we have some ideas and we'd love to hear your opinions. But without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay, so once again, this is The Witches and the Circle, and I'm sorry if it's not that good. I just remember it. I remembered the name because it's got a cool name. All right, so let's get it started. My great aunt had died the year before. Her house was locked up in probate until issues of inheritance were settled. My father was acting as caretaker of the property, which meant I took care of the place while my old man bought booze with my great aunt's money. I didn't mind. It got me out of my place, away from my old man, and it made a nice place to have parties and hang out with my friends. My friend Chris loved the place. I think he also needed a place to hide somewhere away from his own house, with all of his dead mother's things lying around, right where she left them, before a sleep-deprived truck driver snuffed out her life like a candle on a store-bought birthday cake. Our big plan was to host a Halloween party just for our small group of friends. Chris quickly latched onto an idea of having a seance and spent a lot of his time at the library or at some of the local used bookstores. Researching, I told him it was no big deal, that it was just a stupid party trick, but he insisted on getting it right. I guess Chris was messed up about his mother's death. I should have thought about that, about why he was so concerned with contacting the dead. But he didn't talk about her very much. And as I've said before, I was stupid. There are things that happen when you are 19 that stay with you. You don't think they will, but they do. If that's not the definition of haunted, I don't know what is. I met Chris as he was walking back from the dollar store that evening. He was carrying several bags of Halloween candy, some chips, and a few bottles of soda. He climbed into my car, and I drove us on to the house. He dumped the candy into a large plastic bowl and smacked my hand when I tried to filch some. "That's for the trick-or-treaters, jerk," he said, as the afternoon faded into evening. The trick-or-treaters did show up, giggling in their Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk masks. I doled out candy, while Chris ordered pizza and set up the food on the kitchen table.
Bro, that sounds like a lit night.
I was about to say that. I'll be like, damn, dude.
I will forever wish that I lived, I wish that Halloween, the movie Halloween, like how Halloween is portrayed in Haddonfield, I wish that was the street where I grew up, except with all the, no murdering and stuff like that.
Jokes about the Ouija board aside, y'all should come over on Halloween when we do something like this. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Pete, Liz, and Sophia arrived by 8. I was excited that Sophia had shown up. I had been crushing on her for months. But at 6'4", 140, and bright red curly hair, I looked like a scarecrow that tried to dress up like Ronald McDonald. Sophia was tiny, cool, beautiful with jet black hair and skin that may have never seen sunlight. She was my secret reason for having the party. I didn't stand a chance, but a guy could hope. Liz was Pete's longtime girlfriend. She was almost as tall as me, with a shaved head, several piercings, and a full sleeve tattoos on both arms. I'm pretty smart, but Liz was a genius. She aced every exam without trying, and was taking college-level classes in 9th grade. We had been friends for several years, and had shared several classes at high school until she dropped out halfway through the 12th grade. The vice principal told her in no uncertain terms that she would not allow a tattooed freak like Liz to represent the school as a valedictorian. Liz broke the woman's jaw in 2 places. That was pretty much it for Liz's public education. Pete was wrecked when he walked through the door. I had been friends with Pete since we were toddlers. His mother had worked with mine at the same hospital before my mother left town. I loved Pete like he was a brother, but he had several bad habits, self-destruction being high on the list. He nodded his hello, then staggered to the cabinet where my great aunt kept her liquor, and liberated a bottle of peach schnapps. By 9, Pete had retired to the monstrous old rig couch in the living room, cold cloth over his eyes, and a bucket by his side.
Not to mention, to add to his many sins, he's got the girl I like.
Why is he overindulging? I asked Liz as we shoved the furniture out of the way. Chris and Sophia rolled up the large area rug, exposing the hardwood floor beneath. Failed his driver's license exam, Liz said, rolling her eyes. Again? Chris said, brushing his thick brown hair out of his eyes. This is, what, his 5th time to take it? I thought they just gave it to you out of pity after 5 tries. That's pretty funny. At least he didn't vomit blueberry pancakes on the instructor's shoes like he did last time, Sophia said.
The heavy old grandfather clock in the living room bonged 10 times. Chris stood up. Okay, everybody, let's get started. Liz tried to get Pete to join us, but he was fast asleep. Chris returned to the room carrying a large wooden box. He opened the box and removed a small jar of salt and several candles. He motioned for us to sit in a circle, and he poured the salt in a double ring around us. He poured another, smaller double ring a few feet away, in front of the fireplace. He then carefully taped down several pieces of paper onto which he had previously drawn strange geometric symbols. I took the candles and positioned them at points around the circle, then lit them with my Zippo. What kind of freaking teenagers are these? That's what, like, okay.
They're cool teenagers.
Okay, I mean, I'm one to talk because I had my crazy party years as a teenager, but like never once did I even hear about people doing this or like failing their driver's
license. Are you already picking up a foreshadowing?
I think that the dude...
They're about to do this seance while someone else is knocked out.
Yeah, I think he's going to get possessed.
Yeah, watch this dude get possessed. He's just, I didn't get my driver's license.
This is like the perfect setup to an Evil Dead movie.
Yeah, I like this. This is very Halloween fun.
All of a sudden, the dude who's passed out on the couch becomes a deadite, and it's just like... You know, like the freaking, the mounted deer from Evil Dead 2. Just...
I love that scene so much.
You'll have to put that in, Smite Lab. You'll have to if you can find it.
But yeah, I'm having fun with this so far. Very Halloween-y.
Chris motioned for us to all sit within the larger circle. He dimmed the lights and joined us. We took our positions around a small wooden toolbox. The circle was small. When Sophia sat next to me, her knee touched mine. I tried to concentrate on something other than her perfume. Chris folded open the top and removed a metal bowl, which he placed on a metal stand. He pulled some pieces of wood from the box, put them in the bowl, and lit them. He pulled a fabric-shrouded object from the box and placed it in front of him. The dark cloth revealed a book bound in black leather And when Chris opened the yellowed pages, instead of being brittle, they turned with an odd ease. Chris flipped through the pages, and when he stopped, the sallow pages lay slackly open. Without a hint of curling, he began a low chant in a sing-song rhythm. While chanting, Chris dropped wads of dried herbs into the metal bowl. Heavy, acrid yellow smoke billowed up, stinging our eyes. "Ancient spirits," Chris said, as we stared at him with rapt attention. "Ancient spirits, hear us. We beseech you, ancient spirits, hear our call. Ancient spirits, answer us. Ancient spirits, come to us. Ancient spirits, the way is open. Ancient spirits, take this offering and come to us." Chris ran a scalpel that none of us had seen, across the palm of his hand. Lisa recoiled in shock. The blood sizzled as it met the flames in the bowl. You good over there, Zombie Cat?
Yeah, that got me a second.
Something about people, like, cutting their hands, like, really messes with you. "Jesus, Chris," Sophia said. He shushed her with a glare. "Ancient spirits," Chris called. "Hear us. The way is open. Answer our..." The doorbell chimed.
We all jumped, including Chris. The doorbell chimed again. Through the door, we heard muffled voices. "Trick or treat!" Sophia huffed and rolled her eyes. "The ancient spirits are here, and they want candy. I thought you turned off the porch light." She stood up and walked to the door. She flipped on the porch light and opened the door. 2 little kids were standing there, both dressed like witches, with pointy hats and green masks. They giggled, shoved their widespread pillowcase sacks towards Sophia, and yelled, "Trick or treat!" at the top of their lungs. Sophia looked around for the candy dish, then saw it on the kitchen table. It was empty, save for some wrappers. "Sorry, kids, we're all out. That's what it means when the porch light's off." The kids looked at each other for a moment. "Can we come inside for a minute, ma'am? My sister really has to go to the bathroom." Sophia nodded and stood aside as 2 little pointy witch hats bobbed past. As the shorter of the pair went to the bathroom, the taller stood near the couch next to Pete. She said nothing and was very still. I found myself sneaking glances at her mask. It seemed far too elaborate for a child's mask, and the black pits that hid under her eyes seemed to drink in the light. There was a crash from the hallway leading to the bathroom. Chris and I jumped to our feet and ran to see what had happened. The smaller of the 2 children, kneeling at the entrance of the hallway. "I'm really sorry, I broke the mirror on the wall. My head is too big and it must have caught the frame. I tripped, I can't see where I'm going." She tilted her head down and began to cry softly. "It's just a cheap old mirror," Chris said. He extended a hand, his cut hand, I thought to myself without knowing why, and pulled her up. "It's getting late. Your parents must be worried." "Yes, it's almost midnight. Sister, shouldn't we be going?" We turned to see the sister leaning over Pete's sleeping form, green mask pressed close to his ear. "Hey, what are you doing to Pete?" Liza said. She stood and walked towards the taller child. "He was sleeping," the taller witch said, shrugging. Her rubbery, pointed green nose bobbled. "I was telling him to have sweet dreams." The 2 children left, clutching their pillowcase sacks and jostling each other as they walked down the sidewalk. I watched them go, and I saw them turn the corner. I think that I may have seen them both take turns licking at the smaller one's hand.
We shut off the lights, bolted the front door, and relit a few candles that had gone out. Chris picked up his book again as we rejoined him inside the salt circle. "Ancient spirits, hear us," he cried. "Ancient spirits, we call you. Ancient spirits, hear our call. Ancient spirits, Answer us. The grandfather clock began to toll. The first of 12. Chris sprinkled more sage into the ready, glowing metal bowl. Ancient spirits, we beseech you. A candle went out. Sophia snorted and put her hand on mine. My heart slammed to a stop. Then I realized she was only trying to pull the Zippo I had been fidgeting with out of my hand. She winked, then reached over to light the candle. Another candle went out. And another. The room was plunged into a murky darkness, only lit from the flickers of the coals in the metal bowl. "Oh, okay," said Chris, with only a slight tremor to his voice. "The ancient spirits have heard our call and have responded." He shifted slightly and closed the box. On the top of the box was an ornate inlay of letters and numbers in the style of a Ouija board. Chris drew a small white planchette from his shirt pocket and beckoned for us to place our hands upon it. We moved the planchette on the board in small, slow circles. "Ancient spirits, are you here with us?" Something crashed in the kitchen. I made as if to get up, and Chris motioned for me to stop. "Don't leave the circle," he said. "Stay inside the circle, never break it. Nothing can harm you if you don't cross the boundary." We placed our hands on the planchette. "Ancient spirits, are you here with us?" Chris again asked. The planchette slowly moved to a corner. Yes. Boards creaked in the darkened room around us. "This is too spooky, Chris," Sophia said. "It feels like something's watching us. Oh," Sophia looked down. In the twitching red glow of the flames, a shadow seemed to spread across Sophia's chest. She looked up at us and opened her mouth. A flood of blackness flowed out of her mouth and down her chin. She slumped forward, knocking over the metal bowl. The burning coals scattered. "Sophia!" I lunged toward her. A smoldering coal burned my hand, but I didn't feel it. I could only think about Sophia's beautiful hair. It was on fire. "Get the lights," Chris yelled, standing. He shoved me off Sophia out of the circle. I scrambled to my feet. I see nothing in the inky blackness. Liz was screaming over and over. A wall should have been inches away, but I felt nothing. I reached out frantically. My fingertips caught something. The sleeve of a shirt? It jerked away. There was blinding, burning pain on my arm. I fell flat and away, clutching the wound. Blood soaked through the sleeve of my shirt. I crouched low, trying to see something, anything. I turned back to the circle. Liz's face, mouth an O of surprise, jerked backwards. Her slashed throat sprayed blood across the room. It smelled like copper.
I turned to the right. Arm out, I ran. My hand slammed into a doorway with force. A fingernail peeled back. I dropped to my knees, then crawled forward. My fingers met the cold steel of the refrigerator. I flung the door open. Light flooded the kitchen. I huddled in the corner, shaking. I heard a racking scream from the other room. "Chris!" I snatched a heavy cast iron frying pan from the stove. Heavy pan raised high. I stood to the side of the doorway. Blood trickled into a pool in the elbow of my shirt. I heard the slow slide of footsteps. There was a low whispering breath. I was paralyzed. What if it was Chris or Sophia? Light glinted off of the butcher's knife. I swung as hard as I could. My lips peeled back in a rictus grin. I grunted an involuntary "Ha!" The edge of the cast iron pan caved in Pete's face as if it were Sunday morning egg. He went down in an untidy heap. I swung and swung, bashing his head until it was a lumpy mess, until his body stopped twitching. Still clutching the pan, I ran for the front door. It took me an hour to reach the front door. The front door could not have been farther than 15 feet away. It felt like miles. As I stumbled and crawled to the door, terrible things whispered to me, laughed at me, mocked me. I saw the dim shapes scuttle away as I looked, eyes straining to see my attackers. They darted in and gouged my flesh with claws and hot, grasping hands. I flailed blindly in the dark with the frying pan, but they only laughed. When I did reach the door, it was locked. I smashed the antique stained glass with a blow, then climbed through it, lacerating my hands and arms more in the process. The official police report states that Peter McCulty, 19-year-old Caucasian male, several priors including vandalism and possession, was under the influence of a large amount of controlled substances, traces of Adderall, X4, PCP, psilocybin, and certain other unidentified, experienced a psychotic break and killed several people initially. I was suspect number one. A police officer found me walking down the middle of the street, covered in blood and bleeding from dozens of cuts, fists clenched tightly around a cast iron pan. The police took a dim view of my story, and once it was determined that drugs had been involved, they ignored it completely. As far as the cops were concerned, a bunch of kids took some acid on Halloween. They played at a satanic ritual, then one went off his rocker and killed a few of the others. It happens every Halloween.
I was remanded into psychiatric custody for 2 weeks. It was only after I was released that I found out that the police had recovered 3 bodies, not 4. They never found Chris, or any trace of him. I have never gone back to that house. I think about going back every night. I take my meds that make me forget, mostly, and suppress the whispers that I hear in the long black hours before dawn. But sometimes, I still hear them. Every year, as Halloween approaches, the voices get louder. Even if I up my dose, they tell me terrible things. They tell me it was my fault. They tell me I was the one with the knife.
Ooh. Fun
Spooky.
little twist there at the end. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it fills our little slot of a Halloween creepy story.
That was some brutal stuff.
Right. Do I think it's a perfect story?
No. That was just a fun read.
But, this is credited to Eric Dodd. I think it's a good story.
Yeah.
I think it definitely gives the little spook factor. I wish it was longer.
Yeah, it felt a little rushed, like seance, crazy stuff, police.
Yeah, like they set up the thing going wrong. There was evidence that something was going to go wrong, because why did you make the circle and say, don't break the circle, don't step out the circle, you'll be safe, but they're okay with their friend over there being asleep on the couch. Who was
the one they never found? Chris
is the one that was doing the seance.
That's
the one that
creepy.
cut his hand and the little witch touched him.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that has something
when
to
you
do
think
with
about the witches, that actually expands a lot. I like the creepypasta format. That's what gets your brain churning now. It's like, what was up with that?
Okay, I might be misunderstanding. The one thing that I'm still confused about, well, number one, I really do think that we should know a definitive, what is this character's name, like Liz or Liza or Lisa, what is it? It's just so we know. I don't care if you abbreviate it, just I would like a straightforward answer. But also, who does he have a crush on? Because he establishes that earlier in the story, and I thought he had a crush on Liz, but the way he was talking, he had the hots for Sophia. So is it both?
That felt a little weird.
Is it both? Because if it's both, that's fine,
And then nothing really about the mother really came up again either. It was like he was doing this for his mom, or maybe he was using that as an excuse.
Or his friends were using that as an excuse.
What do you mean?
Like trying to convince him to do it. Oh, maybe we can talk your dead mom, dude.
But he was the one who was pushing it, right? Like
Oh.
I thought he was the one. He was going to the library, making sure he got everything right.
I thought that was Chris, because he was seeming to be the one to...
Yeah, that's who I was talking about, Chris.
I know, but the main story isn't about Chris.
I know.
Oh, that's a good point.
Chris's mom is like,
Chris's mom. Yeah, I think that he probably had a little bit of an obsession. But also, if he did know those little witches, then obviously he uncovered something and, like, learned some real stuff.
Or it expands upon something. Maybe that was some part of the ritual, because when he described their masks, it was almost like they were skin in a way. It's like they were very comically like rubber masks, but he described them in a way that there was like, it didn't seem like a mask.
The way I was envisioning it is almost like these masks were masks, but they were like almost antique looking. Like with like symbols, like runic designs and stuff on it, like, you know, you see depicted in like pictures. I was imagining that.
I wonder what was the deal with the mirror being shattered.
Bad luck for 7 years. Also, mirrors are seen as portals to another dimension.
Yeah.
Almost like maybe a breaking of the barrier.
What's really just like hooking me on like what's going on here is the witches licking the hand, the blood.
Right. I think that...
And then they're telling him that he was the one holding the knife, so it's like...
Was he? Yeah, that's the no sleep aspect of it, I guess.
This isn't on no sleep.
I know it's not
though,
on no sleep, but if it was...
It's very... fun. It's just fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say about it.
I would like to see an expanded version.
Oh, yeah. I would like to see more. But, I mean, I really liked it. You know, I could imagine, like, putting on some spooky music, like in a room decorated to the nines of Halloween decorations, and like reading that under candlelight to a bunch of people.
Yeah, I remembered reading it a while back. That's probably why I don't remember it too well, is that it's not necessarily the most hooking thing, but
it screams early 2010s.
Yeah,
Definitely.
especially with the characters. Oh my god.
Anyway, I really liked it though.
Yeah, so that was The Witches and the Circle. So I wasn't even thinking about that, the witches being a part of the title.
Right.
So yeah, that was really good. Hope you enjoyed that story.
But we are full underway of our Horror Havoc, our first ever on the channel. I hope you are staying up to date on all the videos, and I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing, because we got some even more stuff, some really fun stuff coming your way. Hope you're staying up to date on all of our videos for the Horror Havoc. If you haven't, here's some links to go watch our review over Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and also a quick little...
It's the Creepypasta, the dream.
Yeah.
I can't remember the title.
I've come to accept that everything in my life is a dream.
Yeah.
So here's a link to that, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and also a link to I've come to accept that everything in my life is a dream, our first creepypasta. So, like always, we have an Instagram, and if you want to stay up to date on all of our real world escapades, just go over to @the channel over there and give us a follow. And we also have a Patreon.
Woo! Yeah, so as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, you can sub to our Patreon for as low as $5 a month and have your name put up just like this at the end of all of our videos. All funds go right back into the channel, just for better equipment, just better overall everything. We have a lot of plans in mind for equipment, so it won't go to waste.
And if that ever changes, you will be the first people to know. And like we said at the beginning of the video, if you have any recommendations on what you would like to see in a Patreon that you would like to subscribe to, let us know, because we are workshopping ideas and we are actively pursuing making that more appetizing for consumption. So we hope that you're having a wonderful Halloween celebration in your household. Hope that you are watching scary movies every day, reading up creepypastas on your own time, and of course, stopping by the Horror Den and watching some of our content.
And for this video's special comment section, what are you going to be for Halloween?
Yeah, let us know.
Tell us what you're going to be dressed as this Halloween.
You know what? Just as a little Easter egg, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I think I'm going to be Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah.
We're thinking about doing costumes for our Halloween Day videos. So.
I probably won't be dressed as Macho Man in that video.
We'll maybe do something. We'll see. We'll see.
But we got some great plans leading forward. We hope you enjoyed the Creepypasta. Hope that you are having a spooky October out there. But more importantly than anything else, stay spooky out there.